make a motion for a tax fee cancellation for a rental tower.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and that's for 8/22/48 for the first and the second. And a motion, what is Verizon Wireless? It's a duplicate, so the tower belongs to Verizon. Knock that amount. That's for tax fee cancellation, $60.86 for the first and second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to approve the certificates for residents.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Blew right through it. Dispatch agreement, a few minutes ahead, but never happens.
We wait in case anybody else is coming.
Probably a lot of people waiting to hear the outcome. So, have you followed up on this in any way?
That's just the numbers with our salary. So that everybody knows, I looked through the dispatch agreement and I got with our HR on what it actually costs for one dispatcher. And I know that says labor and other costs on there. But that $114,442 is anticipated salary for fiscal year 27 for one dispatcher. And so that's why I requested the change from the 90. And
So let's just back up a little bit on this whole thing, just so you know. So this dispatch agreement, I negotiated a hell of a long time ago, and it was for a dispatcher, because there was only one in there. And we fought like hell, city and the county both. And but it was still the right thing to do, is to get a dispatch agreement. And so it's kind of went backwards, but it's our fault. We always had the 3%, but when we started giving out 5% raises, and then we gave the big raise to dispatch a couple of times. So that puts us in the rears, but it's our own fault. See what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I don't disagree that going from the 60,000, whatever it was, is a huge jump to the 114. But it makes us more whole.
Well, the hard part is, I think, the city's already done their budget, I think, don't know. I haven't talked to anybody, because this was your push. I know that I've talked to the sheriff, he said he's talked to you.
Yeah, several times.
And I think everybody worked real hard on getting to that 90. Are you in the no back down mode still?
Well, I mean, I think what everybody needs to realize is that.
Well, that's the thing, is you want that, but you haven't went and articulated that to anybody.
Well, to the sheriff.
Well, but
But-
not on the city side.
not on the city side.
Right.
We're looking at, for the budget, the B budget, which is expenses, no labor, for dispatch, it costs the county, we're anticipating, we haven't approved the budget yet, but $225,000 for our B budget for dispatch. And our A budget, which is staff, is $1.2 million that the county's paying. And nearly half of those calls are sitting on hold. So the 114 seems to me like a killer deal, but I don't know how the city is with their budget and how far along you guys are in the process and what you
I
anticipate.
think they've approved their budget.
Commissioners,
Yeah,
can we,
this is gone now.
can we officially convene our meeting real quick? We'd love to have a conversation.
Absolutely.
We're already convened.
That's what makes it even harder right now to try and throw a number out.
Would you mind if we had a conversation about that?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, come on
Come
up.
on up. Whoever wants to come up, come up.
That's why I brought it up early, cause we're gonna probably let it.
Chairman and Commissioners, thanks for entertaining us, all as quickly as this thing's evolving, right?
Just state your names for the record.
So, Councilman Scott Harjo,
Mayor Sykes?
Councilman Brendan McCarthy.
Councilwoman Workla.
Councilman Sanders, we're trying to get him on the phone, but he is at his place.
It's all good, I mean, I feel bad about it, that everybody worked on this, and went back and forth, ping pong around. Everybody agreed on a number, and then at the 11th hour, you showed up.
Well, honestly, when I was at the council member meeting, when you guys approved it, about 30 minutes before I got there is when I got the HR numbers. So honestly, I didn't know by the time you guys were approving it, otherwise, I would have been.
So Chairman, we have already done our budgets past,
That's what I figured, I mean, I didn't ask.
the extra, we'd have to go and try to find that somewhere, so.
I kinda figured that's where it's hard, I get it.
So I guess, understanding the HR numbers side of things, and Chairman, you mentioned that in the original negotiation, this was tied to headcount. We've always understood this, at least during my 3 years, that this was a service contract, that we're paying for the service of emergency dispatch, and that it wasn't.
It originally started out as for an extra dispatcher, because there was only one in there. And every time there was an emergency, all the city officer, everybody's calling in a license plate, whatever. And whoever's in there, they just can't handle it. And that's how it really started. And when we finally got down to the negotiation table, I think Schroeder, Rist, oh God, I can't remember, Shapani, them guys are like, well, we don't wanna pay for a dispatcher answering the phone for a barking dog, and I'm just like, it doesn't matter, there has to be another body in dispatch to handle the volume.
So during that
It doesn't
time-
matter whether it's you, our deputy, it doesn't matter. There's only one person at dispatch, it don't work, and so that's how it all evolved at the beginning.
Understood. And during that time, I think the city's been always willing to come to the table about an agreement. I put together some numbers that kind of highlight for fiscal year 24, over 23, there was a 3% increase, which was kind of the target at the time. From 24 to 25, the current 68,000 that we're operating under, that was a 15% increase. What we proposed over that was an additional 36% increase. And the jump to 114,442 is a 41% increase over the current contract. Understanding that the concept of tying to the cost of a dispatcher is one thing. We also operate under different terms for similar agreements, say for animal control and moving, right? Now we're charging what is only the 5-day hold, even though we might be hanging on to that dog longer than 5 days, right? We're not asking for headcount on that side, even though over 50% of the time, animal control has.
Let's just separate that right there. We're not talking that, we're talking one thing, dispatch.
I don't disagree. There's a point to be made, though, that over the last 20 months, since, 20-ish months, since December of 24 when this got pulled, quite frankly, we put a lot of time and effort in as the various versions of city council to work together with the county on a number of things, including the interaction between Elmore County Sheriff's Department, Mountain Home PD, between the city council, city of Mountain Home, Elmore County commissioners. Just 2 weeks ago, at our last meeting, we approved the ambulance district resolution. We allocated $40,000 for the Chems vehicle. Like there's a significant amount of work that I think we've all put in to creating a better partnership. And I don't want to say that this isn't that. What I am trying to impress is that a 36% increase at the 90,000 plus 10,000 for ILETs was a significant jump. And that is what we budgeted for, because that was what we all agreed to prior to the last contribution.
And I'd make a motion to approve that right now. But there's no point in making a motion if it's just gonna lay there.
Agreed. And so one last color point in this, that if we were to proceed at the 114,442, the city resident is also an Elmore County resident. If a city resident lives within the municipal corporation boundary, they're gonna pay 1.58% of their general fund cost just to the dispatch agreement. In our 27, or 26 L2, our general fund is $7.245 million. So 1.58% of that would go to this contract. If their neighbor across the street in the county pays no additional for that same service from Elmore County Dispatch. And I think that's kind of the part of, we're here to be good community partners, and we're willing to pay. It was just fairly shocking last week to hear, one, that the increase was that significant of a request, but two, some of the verbiage being said. The city's not trying to screw the county. That's flat out not what it is, right? Like,
And I don't think anybody ever said that.
we all had that. We all had our conversations, our meetings prior to this, Sheriff's Department, his staff, trying to get to a logical number and a logical increase over that time. So I believe like we've all negotiated in good faith and understanding that this is tied in Commissioner Rogers, you tying it directly to one head count. And I can appreciate that perspective. It's just, when you look at the overall of what that additional cost is, it's $135,000 over the contract period. And if we're gonna talk in those terms, quite frankly, like, are we gonna have some security that this isn't pulled again in a year? But we were under a contract before, and understanding that we had our challenges before, like, I'm trying to set out a pace for the community that we'll have some security in this agreement over the next 5 years. If we pay on
It's been in
time.
place for a while.
Agreed.
And has been addressed.
And Chairman, I appreciate, I thought it was tied to non-emergency services, or non-emergency calls, not to a dispatcher. I didn't know that history. I was always told it was, you get Maris or old guard come in and go, hey, this is for just non-emergency calls, not for emergency calls or dispatch.
Well, they gotta dispatch, there are certain calls they gotta dispatch without an agreement,
For sure,
right?
Emergency.
By law, they have to do that.
for sure.
And the thing back then was, you guys had MDTs in your cars, nobody knew how to use them. They actually sent Teresa Malaya over there to teach your guys how to use them. I mean, trying to help.
Now, the new system, we're stoked, and the thing has been reciprocated. Our guys have gone and helped the county sheriff's guys learn all that. We're one fluid team right now, so it's a good thing. So, I guess at the end of the day, we don't have.
I was good with what you guys had. It was, Crystal, the sheriff sent, she asked him for some information, so he sent out the call volume and whatever. And it's never changed. The city's always had more calls than the county. I didn't see anything different from every year.
And the concentration of taxation in that same region is also significantly higher proportion. I mean, that's where I impress again that City of Mountain Home residents are still Elmore County residents.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's really difficult, and I understand that it was a zero hour, but I could not believe the cost difference, and I just,
Well, we
Our staff
compound, like I
concern.
said, we compound that ourselves, and that's not their fault.
Right, there was a 15% increase 2 years ago to the cost of staffing for dispatch, and 8% last year.
and we're still low man.
Proposed 8% this year, 7 out of 12 headcount. Like, we know the struggles, right? And we put the time in to understand those.
Yeah, cause
those
they just
struggles and
can't,
get caught up
it's a tough
financially.
job,
It is, right?
and it's hard to keep somebody in there, and we've just
There's gonna be attrition, right?
thrown money at it, and, trying to solve that, but that doesn't fix it.
Sure. And it's hard to compete in this region. We've got 2 population hubs around us that have really tough wages to compete with, right? So understanding those challenges, we wanna make sure that the city of Mountain Home is paying their fair share, but we also wanna represent that the city residents are also due that same courtesy of, is their cost for the same service that their neighbor receives across the street in the county, is this equitable, right? We understand call volume in general is higher in the city of Mountain Home. The breakout of call volume versus statutorily required emergency response versus non-emergency, that's also the part that I think ties directly into this contract. And that's where it's tied to the service level and not so much the headcount.
Well, in the emergency, I do have to say that emergency calls, themselves are slightly over half for the county because we have interstate,
Sure,
so,
sure.
as far as emergency.
Commissioner, do you have like the statistics of the non-emergency calls by chance? Just on like, I just would like to know for food for thought, kind of what the rough
You
estimate.
should go ask the sheriff that question anytime,
Yeah, the sheriff should put it.
Oh,
they have all that information.
It is roughly, it's like between 45 and 55% on either side. And so non-emergency is higher with the city of Mountain Home, and then flips the other way
for county.
because of the interstate.
This
So-
is the way it is.
Yeah, and we wanna get to, a solution here. At some point, are you able to, is the city able to take a bigger cut of that labor cost? I don't know. We have 5% increase, but it goes from, when I figured on the actual one head of dispatch, it went from 114 to 120. Are you able to get to 120 next year, or? I mean, I know it's hard
Jeff
to tell
on
that.
the phone somewhere?
No, I was trying to get Decker on the phone.
No, do we have legal representative?
No, unfortunately, we could call him, and he said he would be available by phone, via phone.
What do you have?
So, what I was gonna ask Jeff is that, legally, we're bound to be paying, I don't wanna say legally we're bound, but we should be paying for the service, not for staffing costs, is what my impression is over this. And so, but,
That's where it's tracked off, because I negotiated this deal all them years ago.
right,
And it was for one more dispatch. That's how it was.
but what's in the writing, right? So that's why I wanted to get legal on the phone to see, like, what does the actual contract represent and state? That we should be paying for the service and staffing?
It says, in parentheses, it says labor and other costs. So that could be,
I wouldn't even mess with it.
And that's the difficult part, right, is the application of the dollars, once it reaches your side of the fence, that's up to
It just
you
doesn't
and the sheriff's department staff to allocate that funding out, whether that's to improve the rate of pay or whatever. Really, this is a service contract, and I think it's just agreed that an increase should be tied to the cost of, CPI and COLA and all those things, because those are things that go up for everybody, right? As municipalities, we have to deal with cost increasing anyway, and that, I think the 5% stab was our honest effort, talking with AJ, the sheriff's department and dispatch staff, yourselves individually, to get to a point where this was equitable and fair. 41% increase over the current contract is, that's a big jump. That's a big jump. We have to be able to justify that to the city of Mountain Home resident as well. The same service that you have today, that on October 1, when the new contract goes into agreement, that what you're paying for is either the head count or the service.
Well, personally, I'm not on Crystal's side, I'm good with the 90. Just so you know, that's me.
Chairman,
Cause when you already do your budgets, you gotta go dip into another pot, or however you guys do it, it just never works, you know, for nobody.
so especially with our contract expires next month, right, within 1 month, it expires. We've done our budget, we closed out our budget, we're about ready to print it. I felt like we're more than meeting in the middle with this percentage of 5% increase every year, right? To be honest, guys, if you don't, I appreciate, thank you for wanting to keep what's stated here in this contract. If you, are really gonna push for the 114, I won't, I'm just telling you right now, I won't be for that.
I think for me, it's again, Chairman, I appreciate your willingness to stick with what has been done so far. with
Well, I
this
think a lot of hard
contract.
work's been put into it.
Right.
And it's, to me, it's just, I have to support what she wants or what she feels she wants. I mean, I can't tell her, no, don't do that. But there's no point in me putting a motion on the floor, it's just gonna sit there. And so if Crystal's not willing to come down, well, we'll just have to push it off another week until I get another commissioner in there and see what he wants. That's all I can do.
That, understandable, right, you know, we encounter the same thing across a number of topics, right?
Yeah,
I
it's
just
just,
thought it would
it's
be
bad
fair to
timing.
have
It's bad timing.
to have an honest conversation about your perspective, our perspective, trying to do what's best for community safety, right? Like, there's a point in which a significant number, a non-trivial number of a non-emergency call evolves into an emergency call. Every police chief, sheriff in the country will tell you that that's an actual fact. And this is the part in which we have a duty to make sure that we have this agreement in place, that those events that could evolve into an emergency situation, that they get their fair treatment of having an actual CAD record, a call recorded, because who knows where that thing evolves to from there, whether that's a criminal case, whether that's injury, death, what have you. If a non-emergency call slips through the cracks, that becomes an emergency. If that scenario happens and we don't have an agreement, we have all failed. And that's the point at which our council is just trying to get something logical on the books and agreed to before our current contract expires.
And I agree with you there. And mind you, I'm only in this seat until January. So that was my attempt, just to make sure that when I'm responsible for the money for the county, that it's taken care of. And it's covering at least a portion of that. I mean, it's still a very small portion of that budget. I mean, minuscule. And it's very difficult for me to look at that and just think that it's just gonna, you know, like in Al's case where he says where it's been our fault that we didn't increase the salary, we couldn't. I mean, I'm sure the city had the same thing, we just couldn't. And then so the contract, we finally could, then the contract didn't reflect that. And obviously, that is on us. But it's just getting us further and further behind without doing that. Now and I don't know how you guys feel about this, like I said, I'm out in January. I'm no longer here, and then, you know, Kelly Riggs will take over, and I don't know what his view is on everything. And obviously Bud's not here. And I don't necessarily like, we got 6 weeks, and I don't want any lapse in service, honestly.
And I think that, you know, I understand you're not gonna be here, but if some Kelly or whoever walks in and says, you know, that, you were right, there should be more, well, that's a good time to have a conversation next year with the city before they set their budgets.
Chairman, that's
You know, it's just not fair.
You know, I understand the concern about the cost, which I understand. To me, it's one of these, I feel that between the county and the city, being new into this year is one of my first years, and I feel that we really started off on a good foot with some of the things that we had at our previous city council meeting, as Councilman Harden brought up, but Ken's talked about the resolution, excuse me, for the EMS. I mean, to me, these are the things that we can still be working towards this, but again, it's kind of seems like we're starting to bog down a little bit more. And to me, it's one of these, I feel that let's continue to make progress in working together and building this relationship and working towards with this dispatch in good faith. And as Chairman brought up, if this is a conversation that needs to happen, you know, next year or future, then I'm all for it. I've said that when you and Commissioner Corbis came, and I said, we're talking about ITD. I hope we have you all in the same room when we have these conversations with ITD, but.
Yeah, to be hand in hand.
Right, so I feel that, you know, I hope this isn't something that it really bogs us down and causes us to go backwards, I would say. I feel like we've taken a step forward, but I don't wanna see us taking 2 steps back just because of, you know, some numbers, I guess, on the dispatch agreement, where I feel that a lot of work has gone in this dispatch agreement. And, you know, that is one of my concerns, I will say, is residents of Mountain Home, I have to go back and justify to them of, you know, they are paying their share of taxes, they are Illinois County residents and that, so how do we come back as a body and say, hey, you know, do you feel that this is a fair thing? So I guess I'm speaking for myself, and I'm sorry, but I'm saying let's continue to work together. As a, you know, someone who was a resident before being elected, it was something that was always, I felt, a contention between county versus city, and I don't want to see that. I want to see us working together, and I feel that we have been doing that this year with everything that's gone on. So I guess my ask is let's continue, and if it needs to be readdressed and talked about, let's have another meeting next year. But please let's not go backwards.
So, what are you guys' thoughts on taking out the 5% increase and just putting in here that it will be addressed next year?
I think at one point in our discussion when we met in person, that putting in the table of understanding, knowing exactly on both sides of the fence what revenue you can expect and what expense that we can expect out of our budget was logical. Obviously, the unpredictability of markets and the cost of living and all of those things is difficult, but we took the swag at the 5% table to show, here it is in front of all of us.
I wouldn't take 5% off, because that's a guaranteed. There's always the negotiating table, but that, you can't negotiate if you take it away.
Well, and I just want to, and you see it that way, and I see it as, well, the contract's good for 5 years, let's just let it ride, and it's not addressed, when really the costs are more than that.
But it can be addressed yearly. I mean, there's nowhere in there saying
It
it
says
can't.
it any time, yeah.
I think our last meeting is a show of faith of at least this body of council is open to having these conversations yearly. So I would say that I understand the concern, and you know, if it's one of those that's signed in, you know, 5 years, oh, it's all good and we never talk, but I feel that again, let us show what we've done already as an example of
Well,
this
it's
body
the same
is
with the
very
items. I
willing
mean,
to-
you're gonna pay for what you use.
Yeah,
And
not
that's
addressed in.
it just is what it is.
Right. And with regard to the ILITs, like that's not really encompassed in that 90,000 or 114, right? There's
I
a
know.
$10,000.
But I'm
addition
saying
to
it
that.
could change,
And that very much could change.
and nobody has
obviously.
control over that.
With the
Right.
license plate stickers leaving, you know, the state of Idaho, right, that may change the landscape of what ILIT's costs are. But now that Mountain Home PD has the opportunity to run those ILITs runs themselves and not utilize dispatch, that $10,000 in this contract, that's virtually, if we don't use the whole 10,000, keep the change, right? And our intent is to be able to utilize that technology that we have in the officers' vehicles, so we're not jamming up airways for dispatch, right? Like that was one of the concerns several years ago, was that, and we have this emergency fire event happening over here, why are we getting traffic calls from deputies or police officers? We all have the capability of kind of with that on our own, their own, sorry, without going up there. So there's also the reality too that during this contract, we might see years, if not all years, where we don't utilize the entire 10,000 value of islets, and it really is keep change. So,
Or be reimbursed.
right, or if we go over, or if we go over that we're gonna pay that actual overage, right? And that obviously is a good faith measure too. If we use more than what we've allocated, then let's make sure that you're made whole on that thing.
What do you wanna do, girl?
Well, it's a difference of 20.
So currently over the previous, the difference between FY '27 and FY '26 was $22,000. If we went to 114,442, it'd be a difference of $46,442 over the current contract.
So if we.
I guess send us if there's not a decision on the current contract, cause we can't make a decision, we didn't put anything on here for a discussion decision, so I would
Either way,
say,
it's gonna have to.
bring it, like, send us over the changes if there's a change, or if it's the.
Like I
current
said, if Crystal doesn't wanna come off what she's doing, I'll just put it off till next week when Bud comes back and we'll see what happens.
Okay.
I mean, that's the best I can do.
Okay.
I'm not gonna throw a motion out just to.
No, we understand, yep. All right,
She's willing to wait her out.
Well, I'd like to hang
Save
off
it.
if
I'm
there's
gonna
more
get her an
conversation.
abacus or something. I don't know.
I found somewhere. Even if we did the 90,000 for this year and increase 8% over it, since you wanna keep the 5-year plan in there, at that 5th year, it still only puts us at 122, which is at least better. And do an 8% increase over, get us a little bit more whole over 5 years.
They're in the same boat. They got a crystal ball on their budget.
Yeah.
If your crystal ball's like mine, it's real weird.
Yeah, and I mean, you guys have growth, we have growth. Your growth is just annexing Morgan County, which takes away our growth, but then we have Mayfield blooming, so, but that's not you guys' fault. I mean, if we switch that to 8% and start at the 90, since that's what's budgeted, I feel better about that, at least going out knowing that I tried to at least get it more equitable. Better.
does Mayfield pay for non-emergency dispatch? Just a question, I don't know.
Mayfield's in the county.
Oh,
So we have the impact fees, obviously, and, cause, you know,
Well,
the growth in the city of Mountain Home doesn't have impact fees for the sheriff's department.
They've
because
got a
the sheriff
space out
offset
there
that.
for the sheriff, and they got a space for EMS, so.
So with all due respect, because we're down with our budget, I'm not willing to change anything. This is what we budgeted for, and this is what we're gonna say, this is what I say. With my opinion, that we're gonna save the 5%, I won't go up to the 8%. So if we need to wait till next week to see what Commissioner Corbis wants to do, maybe that's what we need to do, but I just wanna let you know now where I
Okay.
stand, yeah.
I guess
That's
just
fair.
rather than just tie it to next week, we still have, what, 2 weeks till our next meeting.
Here we are.
Would you guys be willing to hang off, not till the next meeting, but to the following commission meeting, where we can all meet again, try and get all of our heads together? It gives us time to kind of volley some information back and forth.
So the 21st we meet, but then we don't meet again until September 4th.
Cause I think the
It's
contract
very
closes
close.
out September
Because we don't
20th.
meet the last Friday, but we can do a special meeting.
And we could, and if
In
we
regards
noticed
to
it
this, that
with
next
deliberation and decision. And again, I think, you know, if we could pick that date on the calendar where we can all be here, that's, should be kind of plenty of notice on our side of the fence, if that works for you, Councilwoman Woodlaw. Where, again, we can all come back to the table with our ideas.
Damn, women.
Why'd you look at me when you said that?
Yeah, you respond.
Yeah, we'll put it off till I get another commissioner in here and we'll see what we can do. Best I can give you guys.
All right, Chairman, thank you. I'm rolling a plaid shirt, unmade bed.
Not till